For the 12th and final time in 2021, we look ahead to Superpole, a brand new circuit opened just a week ago and only 20 minutes on track to settle the grid for the last two races of the season. You join us from the Mandalika International Circuit. Steve English alongside me. The Supersport title race already decided in favour of Dominic Egerter. The focus now turns to the battle for silver and bronze, plus first bragging rights at this new venue.
Yeah, it's been a tricky weekend for some of the Supersport riders this weekend, but Randy Krummenacher leading the way in the free practice session, and Dominic Egerter, our world champion, up there in second fastest. Manuel Gonzalez, his last race as a Supersport rider before moving over to the Moto2 World Championship after this season. He's got the chance of being fast. He was really good in free practice one, up there fourth fastest as well. It looks close here in Indonesia.
Man of the moment, Jules Cluzel. He's been the dominant force of the most two recent rounds.
Yeah, 3 wins.
The combined times from the World Superbike category, but as far as the fastest time from Supersport are concerned, it was Randy Krummenacher with a 1 minute 36.726 who topped the timesheets in free practice 2 here yesterday, just under 0.2 of a second clear of Dominic Egerter. Rafael Idarosa completing the top 3 and first of the Kawasaki runners. A whole batch of Yamaha runners in that leading group, as there has been throughout this 2021 campaign. Though looking ahead to the new era from 2022 onwards, we could be looking at a shake-up in that pecking order.
We're definitely going to see a shake-up next season. Obviously, Ducati back in the Supersport class next year. We've got Nicola Buliga coming across from Moto2, Audi Bayliss coming up from the Australian Superbike Championship. Good to see the Bayliss name back in the Superbike paddock. It's going to be good to see lots of variety in the Supersport class next year. A lot of rumours about MV as well, what they're going to do next season. Even talk of bringing up a couple of riders from the Supersport 300 class. That's what you want to...
That means that everyone's still learning the ropes. There's still a bit of ground to be found.
Yeah, a little bit of ground to make up for a lot of riders. What has been interesting is to see that we've had, obviously, the Yamahas up at the front of the field with Krummenacher and Egerter, and Rafa De Rosa on his Kawasaki, third fastest, and again, continuing the good form we've seen from him in recent rounds.
As we build up to the action then, it is a unique venue, little doubt about that. The spectacular Turn 10 with views out to sea, the general atmosphere on the island of Lombok, and the enthusiasm for this sport as well.
Yeah, it is massive business here in Indonesia motorsports, and certainly it's great to be back here. First time World SBK has been in Indonesia since the late 90s, and we had some great races in Sentul over the years. This obviously the first time Supersport's been in Indonesia, and it's also this man's first day out on track to race as a world champion.
It is indeed. Dominic Egerter, the 2021 world champion. That was confirmed last time out in Argentina. Since the Argentinian round, it's been officially confirmed that he will continue on with Tecate into 2022, something that we'd largely anticipated, but we were waiting for the ink to dry on the contract. That's now been announced, and that's good news for the team as well as it is for Egerter. Another opportunity to become world champion.
Yeah, I think for Dominic, the only uncertainty in that was to see whether or not he'd be getting an opportunity to move up to a superbike, maybe with Honda. He has been a test rider for their superbike program in the past, but that didn't come to fruition, so sticking around for another year in the Supersport class. That big change next year, it's going to be interesting to see where he shakes out on the Yamaha R6 compared to some of those new bikes coming in.
Now, the two most recent rounds in Portimao and San Juan, he hasn't looked quite the dominant force that he had at stages this season. Now, clearly it was always going to be difficult to keep up with that kind of winning run, but Dominic Egerter, now that he's freed from that championship pressure, you wonder whether he might be able to step up just a little bit further to the plate over the course of this weekend. The news for Philip Ertl, he of course joins Team Go 11, and it's a 2-year contract for him with which he steps up to the Superbike World Champion, and he'll be replacing the outgoing Chaz Davies, who retires from World SBK at the end of 2021. Golden opportunity for Philip Ertl, and it's a good job that it hasn't been the last couple of weeks that he's been scratching around for a contract, because after his two most recent rounds, that might have been a more difficult task.
Yeah, and for Ertl, he's done a good job since moving across from the Grand Prix paddock to the Supersport class last year. A regular rider at the front of the field for pretty much the first season, especially in the class. This season hasn't quite gone according to plan for him, but what we've seen from Ertl all the way through the last 2 years is he's a very hard-working, earnest rider. That's going to stand him in good stead on a superbike. He's also jumping in on a Ducati, and we know that while the Ducati can be a little bit fickle, it's difficult to get it into the right operating window. You can have some great results on it. I think it's a good move by Go 11. Obviously for Ertl, there was a lot of talk he might move on to a Kawasaki next season, potentially with the Aurelac team, but I think it's fair to say that going to the Go 11 team definitely is the best option for him.
Is there an extent to which he still had a little bit of a job to do left in Super Supersport. He could have stayed to try and chase that world title.
Well, to chase a race win, really, in the Supersport class. We've seen him have a lot of podiums over the course of the last couple of years. He's had 11 podiums, but hasn't been able to get onto the top step of the podium. But we've also seen just how difficult it is to win races on that Kawasaki.
Yes, last couple of rounds have been particularly difficult for Philip Oettl, not least because his teammate Chanon Chu had a really good round last time out in Argentina, and Oettl was struggling down the order. As far as the championship pecking order is concerned, it's Dominic Egerter who leads the way ahead of Stephen Odendaal and Manuel Gonzalez. Then it's Philip Oettl and Jules Cluzel. Well, we were always going to get images of Galang Hendra Pratama this weekend. He missed the Argentinian round last time out. Wasn't going to miss this one, was he?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that we're going to see more of Hendra than we saw all the way through the season so far on screen. But the number 55, he was down the order in yesterday's practice session, 17th fastest. Needs to find about 2.5 seconds to get closer to the pace of Krummenacher and his teammate Dominic Egerter. But let's wait and see how he can do in front of a home crowd this weekend.
Galang Hendra Pratama with a little bit of a job to do, actually, as well for the team, because we've got a team's title, the team's award in the SBK paddock to be settled over the course of this round, and that's still not yet fully determined. So we wait to find out over the course of this weekend whether Galang Hendra Pratama combined with Dominic Egerter can take that team's award for 10 Kate. As you can see along the bottom of your screen, Valentin Debise unfortunately missing from this upcoming session, and what a season it's been for him. Started with such promise in both the French Championship and the German Championship. He has struggled with injury. We saw a spectacular incident on the start of the warm-up lap previously that ruled him out of what should have been a sustained spell in the Supersport World Championship. Just doesn't seem to have had the rub of the green this season.
Yeah, no luck at all. He had a big crash coming out of turn 4 yesterday, landed heavily, and yeah, it's a shame to see him ruled out of action for the weekend. Debise has shown flashes of speed since he came back into the Supersport class with that GMT 94 squad, and it is a shame to see a season end like this.
Talking of Randy Krummenacher here, Krummenacher, the man of the moment who was fastest in that free practice session here yesterday afternoon. When he's on it, he's on it. If he starts strongly, he tends to finish strongly as well. Watch out for him to be a potential race winner this weekend.
Yeah, easy to forget that Randy is a former world champion in this class. He's done a really good job since switching over to the CM Yamaha squad, and certainly you want to see him able to get to right to the front of the field all the way through this weekend. He is a top rider in this class. He can win races, and you certainly wouldn't be too surprised to see him add to his win tally this weekend.
Randy Krummenacher, who's set to continue with that CM Racing outfit in 2022, although they'll be on Ducati machinery, as we've been saying. Certainly a fascinating season ahead of us in Supersport. This is Manuel Gonzalez, and as you touched on previously, Steve, it's been confirmed since the Argentinian round that he'll be heading to Moto2 in 2022, and I think that was always in the tea leaves a little bit, wasn't it, from the first opportunity that he got to test himself in that paddock, coming straight in and competitive enough to challenge on the fringes of sort of what would be points-paying positions. It's a shame for us to lose him in the World SBK paddock because he's a rider of great promise.
Yeah, Manuel's a really talented rider. I'm interested to see how he does in the Moto2 class. Obviously, he's going to be backed by Yamaha as well in that class. He's going to be racing for that VR46 Master Camp Yamaha squad, so that's really good for him. He's going to be on a good bike, a good package around him. Hopefully he's able to show what he can do, because the good thing for Gonzalez is he's proven you can come from the 300 class, be competitive on a 600 machine here in the Supersport class.
Be done in terms of second and third on the World Championship podium. Dominic Egerter from 68 points up cannot be caught over the weekend here in Indonesia. But Stephen Odendaal, who currently sits second in the standings, he still can be caught by Manuel Gonzalez, who's 38 points behind him. And Gonzalez not completely out of the woods in terms of holding on to that bronze medal either. Particularly Jules Cluzel, you'd fancy, on the evidence of what we've seen over the last couple of rounds. Cluzel making up an awful lot of ground. Still 34 points back, but it only takes a little bit of misfortune for either Odendaal or Gonzalez, and those podium positions for the World Championship could well change.
Yeah, a little bit of bad luck is all it takes in this game, and certainly there is still, like you said, Alex, a lot to play for that third spot in the championship, and I think it's going to be interesting to see who can finish the season strong. This man Jules Cluzel has been in great form the last 2 rounds. Really good to see, because once again, unfortunately for Jules,
yeah, just sort of missing the opening absolute best